So give me your all. I'll take it to Mars. Oh, I'll stick like glue inside your mind. Just watch me break it, and I swear you're falling into me. Touch me, I swear you would do anything that I want. So keep us awake till the dawn. Baby, feel free. I wanna make you sweat on me. I wanna make you sweat on me. Feel free. I wanna make you sweat on me.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final session of the day and our third year of Grow with Inbound. We're so pleased that you've been able to join us, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy days and staying with us right till the end. We hope that you will find this both educational and informative. Before we get into the discussion, just a little about Grow with Inbound. Our first 2 years were live events in central London, but of course, this year with COVID, we are fully virtual, and wow, this virtual event has come together so nicely. And we as Hubble Digital are also fully international. We started the day in the UK with our friends at SingSpot in Singapore, just as they were finishing their day. Then we traveled to Dublin to visit Dubspot in the middle of the day, as well as our offices in South Africa. We're now waking up HubSpot HQ on the East Coast in Boston, hosted by our London office, and another session hosted by our friends in the Hubble office in Chicago. And I'm sitting in South Africa at the end of my day, ready to chat to our guests from the USA. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our guests for the discussion. Firstly, I'm Taryn Reinicke, and I head up the HubSpot consulting team at Hubble Digital. Today, I'll be joined by Corey Friedenstein and Gail Wheaton to discuss how enterprise companies are using the Service Hub. Corey heads up the marketing function at Labeled, a company that are power users of the HubSpot Marketing Hub and have been using the Service Hub since its launch. Hi, Corey. It's great to have you as part of this discussion.
Hi there.
Hi. Okay, then from HubSpot, we're joined by Gail, who's responsible for HubSpot's go-to-market strategy. Hi, Gail. Great to be chatting with you as well.
Hello, nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. If anyone has any questions as we go, feel free to drop them into the Q&A section throughout, and we'll try our best to get through them as many as possible by the end of the session. Okay, so let's get into it. HubSpot Service Hub is one of the youngest products in the HubSpot suite. And as Brian Halligan mentioned in the discussion with Bob, our CEO, just before this session, HubSpot has really moved focus from spending on marketing and sales into more on product development. And this shows, especially in the Service Hub product, which has just been growing so fast since its launch. We, as Hubble, have seen more and more that enterprise companies have started to use HubSpot as the central source of truth for all of their operations, and increasingly so since Service Hub was launched, as it enables a seamless and frictionless customer experience, all the way from marketing through sales to delighting customers. With that, Corey, can you tell us a little bit about how Labeled are using Service Hub, and particularly how it has helped streamline operations for your teams across multiple channels?
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, we've been using the Service Hub essentially since it was launched, and we've really taken it as an evolution as we've onboarded different teams step by step into the tool. One of the first things that we actually shifted over was the use of tickets as we generate marketing qualified leads. So we now are able to generate a ticket for our inside sales organization when a digital lead gets flagged up in HubSpot through the lead scoring elements. That ticket gets sent over to our inside sales team. They investigate the lead, and then they set the lead up in our secondary CRM. Unfortunately, we're not using the HubSpot CRM, although I wish we were. And they're able to get that lead out to the field. And at the same time, they're able to really get a great view into the journey that lead took digitally by tracking through all of our marketing activity and give the sales team that insight. And they're able to determine if that lead has sent in any reactive requests that someone has already followed up with through multiple channels. So if they've emailed our sales inbox or they have submitted a form inquiry on our website, all of that generates tickets for our team as well. So by looking at the contact record as they manage their tickets coming into the Service Hub, they're able to get that complete experience. And it really unifies for them the double working between managing a lead versus managing an incoming service request into the organization. So it's completely optimized our time and made it very simple for us to manage leads and incoming service requests at the same time.
So
yeah, we hear that. I wish you were on our CRM too. We hear that all the time, which I'll touch on later in the conversation. But when you're using more than one of our tool, there's even more added benefits. So that's great to hear.
Corey, can you tell us a little bit about how you're using the conversations tool and with those multiple teams? Just a little bit more on that.
Absolutely. So when I referenced multiple tickets coming in from one request, oftentimes that's because it comes into different shared inboxes across different departments. So we have 3 core departments: our service team, our orders team, the team that essentially receives orders into the organization, and then a team that manages quotes and the inside sales process for the company. All 3 of those teams work through shared inboxes that were previously managed exclusively in Outlook, which meant we didn't have transparency to when someone would email multiple different departments trying to get oftentimes a request for the same question, but they were just desperate to have an answer. And then you'd have multiple teams chasing down that same response. And essentially it would delay the response to the customer and interrupt the customer experience. So by knitting together through the conversations tool, all of those inboxes, you can see on a given ticket through the contacts record how many initiations they had with the company to ask for the same request. And you can see the history of other tickets they may have had on the same topic, which has been very helpful for us for if somebody live chats us on a question and then sends a request to our service department and at the same time maybe submits an order for, we actually sell spare parts and equipment. So for example, they may have submitted an order for spare parts and then contacted our service department for the same question. And by having that transparency, we can quickly jump in and say, oh, you might not have ordered the right parts, or we can help you more effectively through this department. And we have complete transparency across the whole customer journey. And at the same time, we can see what pages they viewed on the website to get to that order. And we can really solve for them the best possible solution instead of just what they're asking within one silo of the organization or in one department. So it's really been a great tool for us to be able to gather that transparency. And it also makes it much faster and optimizes our resources. So instead of having 3 teams answering the same question, we can consolidate to have one team answering that question that previously would have had at least 3 different people tackling the same thing.
Yeah, that sounds great. So Gail, I know that uniting teams and channels is a big focus for HubSpot this year and for customer experience. Can you tell us a little bit more about some things that may be coming to help enable that a whole lot more across different channels?
Of course, yes. So as background, I work very closely with our director of products. So he and I are in constant contact, and I'm getting the latest and the greatest about what they're working on. And Corey, for you specifically, we are thinking about uniting teams and channels as one of our key themes for 2020 and 2021. And what this means at a high level is there's so many channels that you're working with to bring in all different information. And there's a lot of teams, like you said, working inside the tools, like your sales teams. There's probably different types of support teams, all working in the same interface. So a few betas that we have out now, one is called collision detection. And this means when you have 2 reps who are working on the same ticket, they'll be able to see their faces working right there. So if you and I are working on the same ticket, I can say, hey, Corey, don't spend any time on this. I've got this one and I'll take it. And that means you can save even more time and be more efficient. Another one is conversation forwarding. So if you are working with an outside vendor, if you have to loop them in for a spare parts conversation, you can just forward an email from the inbox to that vendor. And that means you can unite the vendor into the process that you have going in HubSpot. 2 other things that are really exciting for us is logged in visitor identification. And Corey, you didn't mention this, but a lot of our customers handle incoming chats from logged in visitors. So if I went to a website and I logged in and I said, hey, I have a question, that website would say, hey, Gail, what's your question? How can I help you? If they have logged in visitor identification. Before, we actually didn't have that functionality because we couldn't identify the user. So we'd have to ask them, what's your name, when I just logged in? But now that we have that, it does it automatically, which provides a much better customer experience. And the last thing that we bucket into uniting teams and channels is our Conversations API. This hasn't been released yet. The team is working really hard on this. And what we want to do is enable you to bring in any channel that you're working on into HubSpot through the Conversations API. So more details on that soon, but that'll unlock that'll unlock a lot of functionality for you and for all our customers.
We're especially excited for the email forwarding. Right now, that's the only time our teams are allowed to exit HubSpot and go into Outlook is if they need to forward. So for us, we're pretty excited around there. And then one thing I didn't touch on, but kind of comes into the several people picking up the same ticket, is we actually use the contact assignment for sales, account manager, and support people that we have built through custom properties to assign all of our tickets that can be assigned. And then we have shared tickets that our team kind of picks up on a first come, first serve basis based on if it's a different level of scope to answer the customer. So that's been really helpful for us to be able to cross over that sales data that we know, essentially who is the account manager for that customer, and make sure they have that consistent touch for who answers their question that they've sent in. Because previously, when they're just emailing a shared inbox, you lose that and you have to actually manually assign the workload. So now by using workflows in the Service Hub, we're able to take that sales data and merge it with the customer request and really quickly get them to the right attendant to answer their question.
And the collision detection will be great for those where you have those agents that all need to go and first come, first serve on a ticket. Mm-hmm. So that'll really help.
Absolutely.
The conversation API is definitely something that's really interesting. So I don't suppose we can push you on a timeline for that?
No, definitely not. There is no.
I had to try. I know a lot of people are waiting for something like this so that you can, so that we can start bringing things like WhatsApp or SMS or any other channels where there's conversations in there and all in one place. It will be quite amazing when that comes in.
It will be amazing. I can't give a timeline, but yeah, it'll unlock a lot of functionality.
Cool. Yeah, those are some really exciting developments there that are really going to help unite teams, especially as businesses scale and start needing multiple teams that need to interact with each other in really complex ways, which is something that we're seeing quite a lot of now. Yeah, it's definitely going to help scale. So Corey, can you tell us a little more about how Service Hub has helped you when it comes to actually scaling your business operations and improving efficiency?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the first things that we did when we onboarded with the Service Hub was we started to actually obtain metrics on how long it took us to respond to certain tickets, and being able to create some custom ticket properties to start to categorize the types of requests that we had coming in. So our manager for the core team that's answering and responding to tickets asked her team to select, as they were fielding requests, the level of complexity of request. That was the first stage. And then we ran some reports to determine the quantity of requests that were more advanced, and then the quantity of requests that could be held by more of an administrative function. And by charting that over, I think we only did it honestly over the first week that we implemented HubSpot, we were able to clearly see that we did not need to have really advanced engineers answering all of our incoming tickets. We could have 2 different categories of tickets that we entered and assign, as I mentioned earlier, the more complex tickets to engineers, and then have the more administrative tickets handled by administrators. So from that, we were able to actually restructure the team, and we were able to hire differently. And we did that within a matter of 2 months of onboarding with the Service Hub to make sure that our more advanced resources had the time and attention to dedicate to things like leads and more complex customer questions. And then we could categorize the other requests to our admins where they could pick up on that first come, first serve basis to be able to respond really quickly. And then we were able to see the change in response time overall for tickets based on the advanced and administrative level requests that were coming in from our customers. And by doing that, we were able to go from about 6 to 8 hours on an overall average to bring down the more administrative level responses between a 2 to 4 hour response. And then the more advanced responses, their time was actually about 12 to 16 hours usually, because we had to go to other departments, gather more information. And by prioritizing those with the people who were really the right individuals to answer those questions, we were able to speed those up so that they were always within the same day response as well. So that was big for us because it gave us that visibility to track, what kind of resource do we need in the department? How long does it take us in order to answer certain types of customer questions, and ensure that we had also the right skill set inside the different departments fielding tickets to always solve the customer requests, hopefully within one touch point, and not be moving things around different departments or asking multiple different questions and essentially ping-ponging the customer around. We're able to really gather that all into one place where we were getting that first line of defense to the customer's question. And same with leads. Now we're able, because we are using the tickets to send our leads in to the right department, we're able to better qualify a lead internally before we engage a field sales rep. And that helps to optimize the field's time to really do the work, to do the selling instead of doing the qualifying, where previously we just didn't have that capacity inside the team to be able to do that more in-depth digging.
That sounds amazing. And you guys have really taken HubSpot and made some really creative uses of the tools available there to just really give a much better seamless customer experience and obviously improve efficiency at the same time within the business, which I know is something that HubSpot's also focusing on quite a lot, just in terms of improving efficiency and scaling support and operations. Gail, could you maybe tell us a little bit about what's planned in that front from HubSpot?
Yeah, definitely. And we're doing a ton with reporting too. And so I think we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but all the reports that you mentioned pulling for your reps, I think we'll have a bunch of things that will be helpful for you there. But as far as efficiency goes, this is something that we're really focusing on. We've always had, our knowledge base and our feedback tool in the Service Hub tool, which has made it very robust. And something we want to double down on now is continuing with those tools, but also making sure that things are efficient for any reps who are answering 100 tickets a day, who need to be quick, who don't want to be switching back and forth between different screens. So one big effort that we're doing is we're moving our ticketing tool, for those of you who are familiar with HubSpot, our ticketing tool into the inbox. So oftentimes if you're using both, a rep might say, why do I have to go back between this different screen? I have to do it 100 times a day. I don't want to do that anymore. And so we're moving all of that functionality into the inbox, and that'll help your rep save a ton of time. Right now, we have what's called a ticket sidebar in the inbox tool. So when you're on a contact record, you can see all the ticket information right there. You can make updates right there so you don't have to go somewhere else. And you can also move conversations between inboxes here. So if you want your support team to then move a conversation to your sales team for them to upsell or cross-sell or do something with that particular conversation, you can do it very quickly in the inbox. And then on the self-service side, we're continuing to invest in our knowledge base, which everyone loves. And so we recently came out with multilingual knowledge base, which I'm sure is really important for Hubble being international. If you're in EMEA, you have to service like 10 languages right off the bat when you become a company. And so now we went from 1 language to 20 languages. So this has been huge for all of our customers. And we're also working on knowledge base SSO, which is really important for our enterprise customers because they don't want to have their their employees and their customers logging in manually every time for any private knowledge base article. And with SSO, you're saving time, and you can do that once and you're done, and you can go on about your day. So yeah, so I'd say the two things for scaling in sport is really continuing to think about knowledge base and how we can make that a self-service thing, and then doubling down on efficiency and trying to make things really fast for customer support reps.
That's awesome. Those new
You
features are
mentioned that ticket sidebar quickly. So if I could just add like one real example of how that's helped us. Just last week, we actually had a customer complaint where our CFO had to get involved. And for us, and she's never used HubSpot, she's not in the tool, but we were able to really quickly jump onto a screen share, pull up the company record, which synced together all the tickets that were associated with the contact records on the side, and pulled in all the attachments and emails into those conversations. We were able to see 4 different teams and about, it must have been over 20 emails going back and forth with 3 different contacts at this company that complained. And their CEO, who had never engaged with us individually, was talking to our CFO about this issue. And she had complete transparency into the whole journey of how our full teams and his whole team had engaged with us. And we were able to resolve it so quickly. She was like jumping for joy that she had this transparency and capability that before she would have had to dig it all out of Outlook through different people and probably never had that full understanding of what happened on our side of the business. And they were really quickly able to turn that really negative NPS rating into something that was very positive experience for the customer to be able to deal with us. So that knitting together of the view between different contacts into that company and having all of the ticket record in one quick view was huge for us.
That's really great to hear.
Most definitely. And I think these new developments are going to even just give more power to that view, and having all the information just at your fingertips and in one place. And they're definitely going to have a huge impact on efficiency within businesses that are using the Service Hub, and really allow them to start focusing more on like being more proactive with customer support. So not just the reactive customer support. Corey, perhaps you can give us a little insight into how you're currently using Service Hub to enable more proactive customer support.
Absolutely. So of course we have the surveys that we generate because of the tickets. So we actually just implemented 3 different customer sat surveys as well as the NPS survey out of the Service Hub. And that's helped us to get insights into responses that the customers have. So we're able to address them right away, essentially offering them a vehicle to give us their feedback. And that has been really helpful. And we've been able to see clear improvements in customer satisfaction. And then the other thing that we're able to do, because we have the Marketing Hub and Service Hub together, is we're able to watch that digital journey. And we do a lot of proactive lead generation through lead scoring. So we're sending over marketing qualified leads where customers have never actually asked us for anything, but we're able to be watching their journey online and determine when we want to engage based on what they've browsed and their history. And we use the ticket process for that, as I mentioned earlier. And we're able to engage our sales team on the back end of that to determine what the experience was. And then through custom properties, determine, did that person then send in a positive or negative survey review? What was their experience when they did finally work with the sales team? And we're able to be more proactive in identifying, for us, customer challenges and be able to trend those as well through the different survey reporting tools, and then address them ahead of when somebody might complain the next time. So for us, that's a very proactive step that we never had in our business previously. And we're also able to get ahead potential issues in onboarding new customers, where we'll have customers submit a new customer onboarding form with missing information. They think their order's been submitted, but it really hasn't. And we're able to get ahead of that by having the tool kind of generate a ticket to request more information from the customer through the sales department. So that's been very helpful for us as well.
Cool. Again, just using the system in such a way that just enables you to just be able to really improve that customer experience. And I think a lot of that is actually tied into the reports and what we have available in the reporting side of HubSpot. And I think that's also something that HubSpot's really focusing on, just in terms of the Service Hub reporting capability. Gail, could you give us a little insight into what's coming on the reporting, and perhaps also the other more proactive things like customer surveys?
Yep, definitely. Yeah, so all those reports that you're pulling sound amazing. We're always telling your customers that you should be gathering data so that you can be proactive in how you're dealing with your customers and your employees. And if you're familiar with the HubSpot UI, the way that we structure things is by objects. So we have a contact object, a ticket object. Really big news is we are releasing conversations as an object. So what this means, for people who are less familiar with the techie part of it, is that you will, in addition to being able to report on chats and tickets, you'll be able to report on all conversations from Service Hub. So anytime someone's emailing you, someone's chatting you, everything's combined into one unified view, and you can report on that all together. And the way that this will roll out is at first you'll be able to report on conversations by themselves. So you'll be able to see that response time by agent for emails, for example, in addition to chats. And then later on, you'll be able to do cross-object reporting. So if you have VIP customers or you have a certain contact type, you'll be able to say, what's my response time based on the conversation object for this particular contact type. So again, less techie. What this means is it unlocks a bunch of reporting for you. You're not going to be beholden just to a specific type of property. You'll be able to report on it all, which will help you be more proactive. And then when we move into customer, yeah. So Tommy, is there anything? Yes.
Very.
Yeah. Is there anything that you're thinking right off the bat that you'll use it for?
Absolutely. One of the ways that we manage performance inside the team is number of tickets and time to respond to ticket. And up until this point, we've been trying to measure quality of answer as how that's being balanced by an individual rep. So yes, they might have the most tickets answered, but if they're not spending enough time or their time per ticket is way too short, then we know maybe they're not giving the best possible answers. But what just immediately flagged up in my mind is how many touches is it actually taking the rep on average to go back and forth with that customer, which typically happens in conversations that we don't have visibility today. So if their customer on average replies 3 or 4 times to their responses, that typically would indicate to us as management that that rep isn't giving a robust enough response on the first time. So the customer is left with an unclear answer and they have to come back to us. So if we were able to report on the number of back and forths in addition to the time and number of tickets, I think that would give us a much better way to manage performance in the group and be able to identify, if we have performance issues and why.
Yeah, most definitely. And if you tie that in with the customer experience surveys, you'll really have a good view there of the performance of the agents.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're on customer surveys, there's one other really exciting beta that's coming out, which is a custom survey. So you mentioned you're using NPS, using CSAT. We also have CES already. Custom surveys is pretty much like, if you think about Google surveys, you can do a drop down, you can do open-ended questions, you can do required questions. This is what you can build in custom surveys. So it's going to give you a ton of flexibility if you want to survey specific customer types about specific things, and then bring that back in with all your other reporting data.
Yeah, also love that, because we basically hacked the customer experience surveys that you have in there to do a custom survey ourselves, where we asked people if they were interested in subscribing to a certain new product that we were going to offer on subscription, kind of like you think about your Amazon subscribe and save. So we had to really fake the tool to make it work, because we wanted to send it only to certain segments of customers and then trigger off certain page views that we had online. So I could see a world of opportunity with custom surveys as well, given what we've experimented with just with what's in the tool today.
Yeah, most definitely. yeah, these changes to the reporting tools, it's going to make that reporting tool so much more robust, as well as the ability to now customize surveys. It's going to make a huge difference for companies wanting to dig deeper into their customer service effort, as well as the stats on their full customer journey. And as we all know, the 360 view of the customer is that holy grail that everyone is looking for. Corey, can you tell us a little bit more about how implementing the HubSpot suite for marketing, sales, and service has helped enable that 360-degree view for Labeled?
Sure. So I think that example that I gave earlier about the customer who complained was certainly one example. The other thing that has really helped us with is our ABM efforts. So we have a few target accounts that we're going after where we're really working side by side with the sales team to build a very consolidated marketing and sales approach to really penetrate these few top accounts. And for us, it's been great to be able to implement kind of sequences alongside marketing email workflows and our LinkedIn ads. And then at the same time, measure what kind of inbound requests are coming from these core accounts that have been targeted for ABM through the service side, through tickets. And we have some of these accounts that are multi-site. So you might have one large national corporation, but the account is split up to have 25 different sites. And the salesperson may be working really well with one or two sites, but they're not always the first point of contact. Sometimes they'll go directly to our service department or our order management department. So when you're trying to penetrate new sites at an existing account, for a salesperson, any intelligence at any other site can be really useful. So our guys who are working very heavily on these very focused in accounts with multiple sites, they're able to jump into the company level record of that target account and see that at site A, they've sent in these orders. Site B has chatted a representative about these concerns they have on their product. And the other site has been able to kind of, did I lose you for a second there? Sorry, I had an
I could hear you, it's okay, you just went off video.
She's dialing in from vacation. So
yeah, sorry. So I had an incoming call at the same time, plus Teams and Zoom, talking about multiple different technologies there.
Yeah.
So anyway, as I was saying, our sales team has really appreciated the added intelligence and the proactive notification that the sales tool is able to give them about these multiple site locations as they're trying to grow and penetrate, because they're able to see a new ticket was generated for a request at one of their companies, and they're able to take that immediately, get an email notification on it, and then as they're working the sales process for onboarding another site for that company, they can use that information to their advantage. So even though we're not technically using HubSpot as our CRM, they're using it as a CRM because they're getting all of that marketing and sales intelligence by using the multiple different elements of the tool.
Yeah, exactly. Gail, can you tell us a little bit more about anything else to do with just increasing that sort of collaboration between marketing, sales, and service, and anything that's sort of on the horizon with at HubSpot for that?
Yeah, I think, I mean, Corey's example is perfect, and I feel like we need to have you write a case study for us afterwards.
Definitely.
But I mean, we're just hearing this more and more. Like, customers have so many different software applications, and I think that when you have everything in HubSpot, you save on time. Like, you don't have to have your people learning a million different tools. Your data is not in a bunch of different places, so there's time savings there. And also, now that you have the data in the same place, you do get that 360 view of the customer. So you have more insights and you can make better decisions with it. So I think her example is perfect, and we just keep hearing this story. Like, I talk to customers every day, and every time I ask them, why are you purchasing HubSpot and Service Hub? And there's many answers. Always an answer is that 360 view.
Yeah. So speaking about that, the HubSpot Service Hub is quite a new tool. So can you tell us a little bit about any other trends that you've noticed with the adoption from companies, like coming from other tools, or perhaps is this their first tool? Are you seeing any trends in that?
Yeah, so we in fact only have been around for 2 years, and it's really amazing the growth that we've seen so far. And I would say our customers span like all over the board. So we do have many customers who are smaller. It's their first tool. They'll typically buy the Growth Suite because they are new to everything and that 360 story really resonates with them. We also have customers who are coming from our larger competitors, and we're really trying to build for scale and build for efficiencies. So we're seeing more and more large customers sign up with us too.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Is there any other exciting developments on the roadmap that we haven't touched on up until this point that you are able to tell us about?
Yeah, so I think just to reiterate on like how we're thinking about our themes, I think it's uniting teams and channels, scaling your support and your operations with efficiencies, and then helping you be proactive by providing really great data and really great feedback. I would say those are the 3 buckets, and one place special to my heart is the efficiency bucket, because we hear a lot that in addition to having all the data, reps really want to be able to do it quickly and make their job easier. So I'm super excited about that, and I think you'll see a lot more there in 2021.
That's amazing. Corey, have you got anything else that you would like to add?
I would say to your question earlier about what tools are people migrating from, I can, I guess, share. So we're on SAP. We're a very SAP-centric company for our operations. So we use it for our ERP. Our other CRM that I mentioned is also an SAP CRM. And where our different department managers are really seeing the value that HubSpot adds is giving all the additional insight that a tool like SAP, which is very cumbersome and difficult to customize and takes a very long time to really be able to get the data that you want and the insights that you want. We're able to use HubSpot to offset everything that we're missing. So everything that essentially touches the customer that we don't get out of SAP, and even some things that we are getting, like canned reports out of SAP, we're actually able to upload the reporting data into HubSpot to kind of batch update different tickets and be able to get insights that we're able to pass back to the customer about their business with us through HubSpot in ways that are so quick and easy to implement that we're live with what we want to offer the customer in a few weeks, instead of waiting the months or years that it would take us to make that manipulation inside something that's very robust like SAP, but also complex to navigate and modify, especially where we see local adoption to be different country by country or business unit by business unit. We can make those changes very easily in HubSpot to customize what the experience might be out of, we have one shared SAP system, but every country needs something a little bit different in the way they might communicate with a customer. And HubSpot allows us to make that bridge to the customer seamless and customized by user application, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. We're seeing a lot of trends like that with a lot of our clients as well, where they're integrating their other systems with HubSpot, and HubSpot becomes that like really easy tool to just and see that whole 360-degree view. Okay, are there any questions? I'm having a look at the Q&A panel and I don't see any questions. Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask? Please pop them into the Q&A. Anything that anyone is really excited about with what we've spoken about today? Maybe tell us about it. Cool. There doesn't seem to be any questions coming through. There we go. I'm excited. Dave, oh yes, I know Dave. Hi Dave. I'm excited about all of it. Yes, I am too. And I'm sure a lot of people are excited about everything that was spoken about today. Okay. Cool. So with that, I'll be handing over to Matthew Creswick, our Managing Director of our Singapore office, to close off the event. And stay tuned to hear about an exciting competition that we have running for this event. Matt, over to you.
Thank you, Taryn. And a big thanks to Corey and Gail as well for joining us today. I know I personally learned a lot from that. That was really interesting, a really great session. An extended shout out to everyone, and a thank you to everyone who's stayed with us until the end, and have joined us today. As Taryn said, we're running a competition for anyone who is interested in wearing and winning a pair of Apple AirPods. All you have to do is take your key takeaway or an image from the event today and post it onto LinkedIn using the hashtag Grow20. That hashtag is key for us to be able to spot your post and enter you into a random prize draw to win those. Now the end of this session really brings us to the end of the event today, and brings our Grow with Inbound 2020 to a close. We've had over 15 sessions, over 25 speakers, over 600 attendees, 4 different continents and numerous time zones. So, I guess from my perspective, it's been really pleasing that we've had so many people being able to join us, and a lot of you have taken a lot of time out of your day to be with us today. And I really hope you found it educational, informative, and took some really key insights away. Other than that, just a big thank you again to Taryn, Corey and Gail, as well as all the other speakers throughout the day. All of the recordings and content will be available at the start of next week. So look out for an email from our marketing team so you can watch it at your leisure. So other than that, have a good rest of your day, enjoy yourselves and stay safe.